Hi, now we are ready. Okay, so we will start with our warm up on our hands and knees. So coming down to your hands and knees in a spine safe way. And when everybody's down, yeah. So all that we're going to do is, well, we'll start with forward and back, but where I want your focus to be is thinking about your wrists and that you're preparing your wrists by sort of loading and then unloading. You're keeping your spine in neutral. We're not going into any curved low backs. And then I'm going to sway left and right, changing how the pressure distributes throughout my hand. Just looking at your hand and noticing, can your hand be flat on the ground? Can you spread your fingers? Can you spread your thumbs? Try to get them to point more towards each other. And then we'll just make circles. So my spine stays in neutral and I'm just traveling around it. The circles can be small or big, just so you feel the pressure changing on your hand, and then reverse the other direction. And maybe going slow enough that you can feel the pressure change through each finger as you come across the top. And then we'll stop, and we're just going to move our hands a little bit further forward, finding a way to keep our ribs inside our body as we stretch. A little bit of a puppy. I don't want to tuck my tail here. And then I come forward to a little half plank, and then back, feeling the stretch maybe in your armpits or your upper arm. And then back to a little half plank, feel your belly engage. Back again, stretching in your armpit, in your arms, shoulders. And then forward again, lingering for a moment to feel your belly engage, pushing through the heels of your hands. Coming back again, neutral spine, feeling that stretch. And one last time, into a plank. Good. And then let's just shake out our hands for a moment, because we're going to do hip cars, so controlled articular rotations. I think what I'm going to do is face forward. So I'm on my hands and knees, and I'm going to pick up my right knee, and I'm going to imagine what's going on in my hip socket with that leg bone, the femur. So I'm going to do a little fire hydrant move. And then in order to internally rotate my femur to make a circle, I have to let my heel come the other direction. Then I can rotate around. So I come in, fire hydrant out, rotate that leg bone, and then come around. One more time, out, rotate that leg bone, and come around. And now we'll reverse. So we kick behind, we come around. And this, for most people, is easier because the focus is on that external rotation as you come around.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully you didn't feel your low back trying to make the move for you. This is pretty challenging for me to get that internal rotation without my low back wanting to help. So my knee comes in, my knee travels out like a fire hydrant. Now I'm internally rotating that leg and coming around and in. So knee goes out, internally rotate the leg and come around. Out, internally rotate the leg and come around. And now for the easier one, we go behind and circle around. In this one, you can really, in your mind's eye, see what your leg bone is doing. It's a little harder in the other direction. And then come out and shake those hands. I'm going to grab my blocks, not because it's necessary in a low lunge, maybe because it's fun and a little bit different. And applies really less of a load to the hands to do a low lunge this way. So figuring out where you're going to want your blocks and if you want them high or low or however you want them. I'm going to put my hands on the blocks in order to make it easier to bring my right leg forward into a low lunge. So just making sure that my feet are on train tracks so that they are not, my knee isn't right behind my other heel. So we're in this low lunge and I want to imagine I've got a stick on my back. So I'm not going to go down and let my ribs come out and make a swoopy, pretty yoga journal lunge. I'm going to keep my back on that pole, my sacrum on that pole. So that's why the blocks are really good, because you can, if you have a hard time with your hip flexors creasing more, you can have the height of the block to really help you stay in neutral in your spine. So we're just going to move back and forth a teeny bit. Remembering that as you move, you've got that stick on your back and you are not changing that. Good. And then we're going to stop for a second, move back a teeny bit, and then I'm going to take my left hand, so the hand where the leg is back behind me, I'm actually going to come up and put my hand on my right knee, and I'm just going to reach that left hand and now come forward a little bit, just a tiny bit, so I feel a little bit more stretch. I want you to sort of move around in this, finding a place where you feel the stretch, but you also feel stable. And then if it's good for you, you could reach a little bit to the right with your left hand, being aware of your low back, being aware of your right hip, not swinging way out to the right. And then coming back down. Now for the fun part, untuck your or tuck your toes. Whatever this means, put your toes on the ground. We are going to try to not lift our hips, but lift that left knee off the ground. You can hover right here, or you can reach that heel back behind you. So I'm not suggesting you straighten that left leg fully. You're just reaching your heel behind you and seeing what sensation you get. And come back down. And we'll do that one more time. Keeping your hip low, just lift that knee and then stretch that heel behind you just any little bit. And come back down. Okay, that's awesome. We're going to switch sides. I love having these blocks here. It makes switching sides so much easier. And, there's nothing wrong with not being right on the ground, and it's a little relief for our wrists as well. So keeping that stick on your back, you don't need to let go of the blocks. I'm just helping you visualize a stick on your back as you move in and out of your lunge. And then if you want, it can be a little bit bigger and that front leg can go straight. But again, check in with your hips that you aren't swinging way out to the side. And then you'll be right here, and we're going to take our right arm because the right side is now the side that's getting the stretch. And we're just going to reach up. Keeping your ribs in your body, you can play around with how far forward or back that lunge is so that you feel a really nice stretch. Your ribs are in your body, you're not overarching your low back. And then if you want, you can add to it with a little side bend. Breathing, feeling your ribs expand on the right side. Coming back down. And now I'm going to tuck those toes under and prepare for the idea that I'm going to lift that right knee without lifting my hips. On this side, I find my right leg is shaking. I'm reaching my heel towards the back wall. Put that knee down. We'll do 2 more of this. These can feel very different on one side versus the other. Putting it down, and now I'll go for a third round. Continuing to breathe. Ooh, and coming out of that, we are going to get ready to go up. So we're going to come through a high lunge to come up to stand. So if you want to use your blocks and get them closer to you, we'll press through that left heel, come on up, and come to stand. Now, we're just going to do a little calf stretch. My foot is not long enough to calf stretch on my block, given the height and width of my block. So I'm going to use my half dome. You could just grab a pillow that you have around the house or a blanket, anything that you can just prop your foot up on so the pad of your toe is higher than your heel. Then you're going to, let's keep that back foot pretty far back as if we're walking. And then we're slowly going to start to bring the back foot closer, keeping our hands on our hip points, hoping to get them both kind of in the same plane and pointing straight ahead of us. So you're just looking for how far forward can you go without your spine changing. So if I go too far forward and I can't handle it, I might change my spine because of how tight my calf is. So we don't want to do that. We want to stay with our neutral curves, and you can just inch your foot forward, looking for that place where you're getting a nice stretch in your calf, but your spine doesn't change. And then you can see how the stretch changes if you bend the knees. And then straighten the knees and just see which one feels like a better stretch for you. When your knees are bent, you're stretching a different part of the calf muscle than when your knees are straight. Good, and then we'll change sides. So once again, standing on your book, your blanket, whatever you've got, starting with your feet almost like you're going to walk, and you start bringing that back foot more forward, noticing that each side is different. So one side, the calf may be a little bit tighter than the other, and that's fine. And then bend and straighten, looking for which stretch you feel like you need more. Great. We're going to use this again. We're just going to do a little calf raise. You can hold on to a chair or a wall. Our goal here is to not have our ankles sickle out to the side. So ankles sickling out to the side would look something like that. So yeah, I just almost fell, but that happens a lot. So we're going to think about lifting our toes, planting them, and knowing we want to keep all those toes on the ground evenly and just raise a teeny bit. And I just felt my left heel wanting to go out to the side. I couldn't bring it back in, so I came down. So we're just calf raising a teeny bit, feeling how you're working the arch of your foot, your calves are working. Yeah. We're thinking about going straight up more than forward, although obviously we go a teeny bit forward. And one more. Good. And then we're going to put both feet on our half dome or whatever it is that we have. In this case, so you don't topple over, we sort of hinge at the hip, knees are bent, hands are on your thighs. And then we go about seeing, can we straighten the knees a little bit? Where's a comfortable place? Do you feel like you can hinge more, or do you need to hinge less? Enjoy that feeling of the back of your leg really giving you sensations, noticing where it is. You can bend and straighten if you want to just compare the feelings. One more.
You forget how good this feels.
Yeah,
It's
it
like,
really does. It does.
it's like so tight, but it feels good.
Yeah, that's the nice thing is that you can really control it and not overstretch.
Right.
And the good news is, if a person does passive stretching, which that is, the best thing in the world is to strengthen after you've passive stretched. Otherwise, passive stretching doesn't really hold. So let's do it
Right.
again. I'm actually going to experiment because I was having a little sickling out of my heels. I'm just going to put a block in between my calves and just experiment as to whether that helps me keep my heels from sickling out to the side. It does feel a little bit better. I actually feel
Yeah.
like I can pause up here. I can just squeeze the block, feel that going up through my inner thighs and my core really, and I've got a little more control. And I can tell that my big toe mound is still, or my big toe, if I've gone up high enough, is still in more contact with the ground than when I was sickling out. And everybody should do the number that feels right to them. I will stop, but you can stop before me if you want. And one last one. Awesome. So we're almost ready to work out. We're just going to do some arm cars. Since we did hip cars, let's do arm cars. So my hands are on my ribs. My thumb is going forward. I'm coming up to the top. I'm going to come down on my knees so everybody can see that I then, at this point, I need to reach up a little bit and rotate my hand so that I'm rotating my arm and coming around. So thumb goes forward, I reach up, I rotate and come around, and my hands are on my ribs so that I am trying to resist rotating my rib cage, which just hinders me getting all the cleaning out in that shoulder socket that I want. Just imagine it like you're cleaning out that socket, just making sure everything is clean and clear. Good. Shaking my arm, and then we'll switch to the other side. So thumb comes up, rotate around, and notice from this front view, you can see that I don't have the range of motion to keep it here. I have to go out wider to get it to come around. And that is true for most of us. I've only seen a few people who can really, truly make a pure circle. And we're going both directions, obviously. Ooh-wee. Okay, and then you guys are still standing. We're just going to do a little reverse prayer so the backs of your hands come together. Maybe your thumbs can touch.
Or not.
And or not. And then you're up wherever you need to be without your shoulders coming up. You don't have to jam your shoulders down, just let them relax down. And then if you can find a place, I'm trying now to get my fingers pointing up instead of at me. And then maybe seeing if I can lower my hands a little bit. Maybe not. Just seeing where you are today. Everybody's different. And every day is different. And then we'll lace our hands together and just push them out. Great. Now we are going to get a weight or two weights. I'm going to go for my heavier weights. We're going to start with heel drops. So everybody gets to pick their weight.
Sorry.
No worries. Okay, so We know our heel drops and we just did those calf raises. It should feel a lot more under control. We're going to go up and then just plunk down. So you come down with a little bit of a bam. And hopefully you feel like you can control your core when this happens. So maybe you exhale as you hit. Just helps to lift your pelvic floor a little bit when you hit. And because we did some pre-work, your calves may really be feeling it, but hopefully you also feel the back of your legs and your bum. And one more. And then we're going to walk with both weights. Later, we're going to walk with only one, but right now you're walking with both weights. You can walk as far and as long as you want. I'm just staying on camera, so I look like an animal who's been caged, pacing back and forth. Just notice your feet. Notice your ability to articulate through your whole foot. It's feeling more supple now. If you come back to the mat, you could walk forward and backward a couple of times. Good. And then we are going to put the weights down for a second because we're going to do a plank. And this is a little bit more like weightlifting. We're going to do it. It's typically a 40-second drill. I'm not going to actually have my clock. I found that distracting last time I did it. So I'm just going to count. So it'll be sort of 40 seconds-ish. So finding your safe way down to the ground and finding your way into a plank. And you can be on your forearms for your plank. You can do a half plank from your knees. It's whatever you want to be doing. And you could also be doing it with your hands on the blocks if your wrists were not happy today. So you're thinking about that marble traveling up from your pubic bone up and behind your belly button. Really pushing through the palms of your hands. And then we come down and we're going to squat. So now you have the choice as to whether it is one weight or two. Notice that I come up through a lunge again. It's really my safest way for my spine. So if I'm going to do two weights, I'm going to hold them like so. If I had one weight, I'd probably hold it like a goblet. It's a little less stressful for your lower arm to hold like a goblet rather than this. But we're going to do a goblet squat. I'm going to keep both weights today. And everybody should just honor how they're feeling. And then we're going to squat down, push through our heels, squeeze the bum and come up. So my knees are generally going over the middle of my foot. It's pretty hard to let your knees collapse in here, but I've seen some people do it. So exhale and push up. Really feeling that exhale, and I'm connecting my heels right up through the center of my body, and my bum squeezes at the top. And just a reminder that I'm counting. I'm not counting how many squats. I'm counting time. And this will be the last one. Awesome. Give your wrists a break. If you had one weight, you can take two now, and we're going to do a piston lunge. So I always like to step back. I'm going to do it facing you guys first. So I'm going to step back with my right leg, finding that I'm on train tracks, not a tightrope, plugging in my front leg into my hip socket, feeling the stretch on my hip flexor on the right side. And then I'm just going to go down and back up again. And in doing so, I'm just thinking about my front leg. Hopefully my back leg just follows and does what it needs to do. So the front heel is pressing into the ground and motivating me to come up. Heel to bum to come up. Feel the locomotion you're getting out of that left hip, that it's staying in line, it's not swinging out to the side. It's got a job to do of powering you back up. And one last one. And then for me, I'm stepping forward and changing sides. So stepping back, adjusting again so that I've found the place where my back toes feel comfortable. Noticing that I'm on train tracks, plugging in that front leg, and then piston lunging up and down. So same thing. The heel to bum is really active on my right leg, the front one. My hips are not swinging out to the side. I'm only going down as far as I feel comfortable without my low back changing, without my ribs coming out of my body. Right bun on fire. Woo! All right. So we are going to row. And for this round, let's row on one side and then the other. So take a little hip hinge, baby squat, and you're just going to pull towards your armpit. And again, you can pull fast and then slowly go down. Pull fast, slowly go down. Hopefully that elbow goes more behind you than out to the side. Your spine stays in neutral. Hopefully your upper arm doesn't internally rotate. That's the hard part. One more. And we stand up, and then you can switch to the other side. So a little hip hinge squat and pull up and slowly go down. Pull up, slowly go down. Use your breath. Doesn't matter where the exhale is, but use it to support you. So I don't care if you exhale coming up or going down, or you exhale through a whole move. Just notice that you can really support your core. One more. And coming on up. So we're going to do our triceps. For me, I think these heavier weights are not going to work for me today, and I'm going to do my triceps a little bit lighter. And that's totally up to you guys. But what I always want to be sure is that I can do a full tricep extension, and with that heavier weight, I might have only gotten to there. So letting my neck relax, standing up straight, sending my bum behind me with the hip hinge, bending my knees a little bit, bringing my elbows to my rib cage, and then extending. So ribs stay in my body. That pole is on my back, and I'm really staying exactly that way. I'm not changing my spine at all. And I can feel my triceps on the back of my arm. I just pause for a second. Maybe you need to exhale a lot on that pause. So you've got a lot of support for that pause. And you don't have to go the whole time. You can stop. since I'm here and I've got the weights in my hand, we're gonna do curtsies. I'm just gonna leave it at this weight. I could do heavier, but I'm going to leave it. So I want you to pick what you wanna do with your arms. Everybody has sort of a natural rhythm. I like to do this. So the leg that goes behind, the weight kind of goes behind with it. And I'm bicep curling with the other side. So the front leg is the bicep curl leg. This is great. I don't know about you, but I do have my heart rate going. All right, and let's just walk it out for a second. And I'm going to just toe touch side to side. Use this as a little bit of a cool down, but we are going to sit on a block for a total cool down for a minute before we repeat the whole drill. So I'm going to put my weights down, and you could take both blocks if you want and sit on both blocks. What I like about this is sitting on the blocks, I can really have my spine be stacked. So my rib cage is right on top of my pelvis and I feel my sitting bones beneath me. And we'll put our legs out at a width that is happy for you to be able to do little windshield wipers. Now we're on the block, so we're not, what's cool about being on the block, it's not a big stool or chair, so we're less likely to want to move our pelvis a lot and more likely to just see what kind of rotation we have in our legs. Maybe slow it down so you can explore. My left leg wanted to cheat, so if I slow it down, I can ask my leg to do a little bit more.
Mhm.
Yeah. Good. And we'll just practice one sit to stand so we can start over. So sitting on top of our sitting bones, reaching your fingers out, hinging forward a little bit, knowing that you're going to press through your heels and use your bum to stand up. So I'm going to just push my blocks out of the way. And remembering that I'm doing a plank. So my first thing is a plank. I'm going to use my other leg for a different lunge, different side, to come down to get into my plank. You can use whatever works for you to come into plank. And again, choosing whether you're on your forearms or your hands, or you're going to keep your knees on the ground, whatever you want to do today. Maybe I'll come down to my forearms and do my plank here. Just noticing again how your breath supports you. That marble traveling up is so important in a plank. Gives you a lot more core support when you do that. So you can really exhale nice and long, feel the support. Remembering that your arms or your hands could be up higher on the blocks. And then coming on out of that. And remembering how we squatted. So you can choose to change your squat based on what happened last time, whether you want one weight or two. I'm going to play with a different arrangement for my hands. We'll see if it works. Just don't want to drop a weight on your toes. So arrangement where I'm trying to really hold these weights like a goblet. I do need my forearms to help me hug the weight. So I'm pretty upright here, which is totally cool. Just want to be sure that I don't drop the weights. That exhale helps your heel through your back of your leg up to your bum. Heel, squeeze the bum. The elevator all the way to the top, then the elevator resists, and the elevator back to the top. And one more. Then, given how I'm holding these, I have to be super careful. It was probably not the most elegant transition, so maybe it wasn't a great way to hold them, thinking for the future. So I'm going to have my left leg forward first, and I'm going to step back. Sometimes I wobble. Okay, plug that left femur in, feel the stretch on the right front of the body, and then we go down and back up. And again, my mind's eye is in that heel to bum connection. Again, the elevator, using a lot of elevator power because I'm lifting my whole body really with only my left bum cheek. So I exhale to come up. And you're going to stop when you know that your form might not stay true. Otherwise, you stop now. And I'm stepping forward and then changing the front leg and stepping back with the other one. That looks good. So we're in 2 train tracks. Plug in that right leg. Get ready to go up and down. Changing my mind's eye to my right bum cheek now. Feeling it resist the descent and then pressing back up. Resisting coming down and coming back up. Resisting coming down, coming back up. And it's totally okay if you do less or more on one side than the other, because we're just going for timing. And we're about done. And stepping it forward. Woo. So we are going to row, this time with both arms at the same time. So when we do it this way, there isn't the opportunity for the rib cage to move. So we don't pull up here towards our armpit, we pull more towards our hip. So metal pole on your back, super heavy. Keeping your back on the metal pole, pull. So we pull and then slowly come back down. Pull, slowly come back down. Check in that your head, your mid back, and your bum are all on that metal pole, that imaginary metal pole. Sometimes the head likes to change position. Just get it back in line. Up and slowly down. Up, slowly down. Up, slowly down. Up, slowly down. Last time. Then for the triceps, I'm going to switch out. You can do whatever suits you. So again, hip hinge, knee bend, elbows to my side, kick back and hold, come in again. Checking in with my neck, making sure I've got my back on that metal pole again. So it's heavy, and because of that heaviness, I'm sort of pushing into it to keep my torso from collapsing. Kick back and hold. Feel those triceps when you hold back there for a moment. Use your exhale to really help you. And if you need to quit, it's cool. And we're at quitting time. Oh, that was fun. So we've got our curtsies. Same weight or different weight, totally up to you. And we curtsy. So I'm not gonna curl over. I'm gonna stay with my chest pointing at the wall in front of me. My face, everything's just looking straight forward. Beautiful, really nice. Look at those arms move. Really, really nice. And then we're going to slow it down and just toe touch. Yeah. We are going to sit on the 2 blocks again. You can definitely take a water break. I need one. And of course, take a water break anytime you want. So I'm grabbing my 2 blocks. We'll sit down again. And you can repeat the windshield wipers, or you can do something funky. I got to get this guy out of the way. So this is an up high 90-90 leg. And maybe you can see my front leg kind of makes that 90-degree angle. My back leg kind of does.
Right.
Then all I'm going to do is use my muscles to press that front knee down. Just 4 times. And now I'm going to go the other direction. This will probably be easier for you, pulling that front knee up towards you 4 times. Front leg is all okay. Now for the back leg, this is harder. I'm going to try to bring my knee up 4 times without using my low back. Haha. Yeah, and you can change where your leg is if you need to. This is my nemesis. So since I know what I want to do, I moved my front leg so that I have more support for hip hinging a little bit forward. Because what I want to do is lift my back heel. Now, I don't have the strength in my medial glute to do it seated upright. I can try. Well, I got it a centimeter off the ground, seated totally upright.
This is not working.
Right? And if it doesn't work, don't do it.
I mean, I'm telling it to do it, but it's not doing it.
Right. And so just the telling it is fine, because you're just trying to create a new neural pathway. And you don't do this normally. So it's not going to be easy. And we don't want to hurt your low back.
No, I can't.
We're just trying to talk to it. If it doesn't want to listen, that's fine.
I'm telling it, but it's.
Yeah. It's like, no, not talking to you today.
Yep.
And finding your arrangement on the other side. Since you know a little bit more about what you're going to do, maybe you'll sit on your block a little differently. And I'm just going to press that front knee.
Being able to do this.
Yeah. And I know we've talked before about having both your bum cheeks on the block. I know it's hard on one of the sides. And that's okay. Just stick with what you've got.
Right.
So then pulling up, and you can change your legs to meet yourself where you are. So your legs don't have to be like mine. Now I'm going for the back leg. I'm moving my front heel forward a little bit so that I can lean just a teeny bit forward and lift my back knee. only doing what I can do without stress or strain in my back or my side hip, knowing that I'm going to attempt to raise that back heel, and maybe it just comes off the ground for a nanosecond, and that's totally cool. Or maybe it doesn't, but you're activating some muscles trying to talk to it. And that's cool too. Then you can sit for a moment.
So amazing how your mind's telling it to do it and nothing's happening.
Right? I know. It's,
and lifting the knee was fine, but lifting that.
The heel. Yeah. It's that internal rotation. When I ask you to lift the heel, it's that same internal rotation that we did in the hip car.
Oh,
So
yeah,
it's the same thing of going from here
to there.
to there. My low back wants to do that for me. I do much less of it if I don't let my low back do it.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's just teaching and training, just seeing, you know, what we can do. So our next series, we are going to use, we're going to be pressing up and doing bicep curls. So your press up might be a slightly lighter weight than you would do with a bicep curl. I'm not going to switch weights. I'm just going to stick with my slightly lighter weight.
Yeah.
But you can switch weights if you want. I'll give you a moment to do that.
Okay.
So we're doing sort of our own version of snatching a weight, racking it, and pressing up. In true weightlifter fashion, they would be snatching it from the ground. I'm not going to have us do that because sometimes form gets a little kooky in the low back. So we're going to do our own version. Soft knees. I'm hip hinging over just a little bit to let the weight come down. I'm going to pull it up and bring it to my shoulder and then press it up. So I'm coming down, pulling it up, squeezing my bum, pressing up. So you pull up, press up. So the pulling up is faster than the other parts. Noticing that that same stick is on your back. That same bottom squeeze is what motivates you up, so that the spinal muscles, the muscles around your spine are helping you come up, but your buns and your hips are the main driver. Good. And then we'll switch sides. So a little bit of a hinge over and squeeze and come up. Noticing again, it's fast up, slower for that press up. Fast up, and then slow it all down. Fast up, slow it all down. Fast up, slow it down. Fast up, slow it down. One more. Great. So we're going to do the top hand of a triangle. So pick your side. I'm going to let everybody, we're not all going to do the same thing. Just pick a leg to be what I'll call the bottom leg. It's the leg with the hand that stays at the bottom. I'll put my back leg arm into a rack position. So we're just going to find our hip hinge, and you guys all know that you're going to find your own arrangement for a good hip hinge, no side bending in your spine, and then press that weight up. Whether you choose to look at the weight or not is up to you. And whether you choose to come back up with your arm extended is up to you. Noticing how much you need your core, that marble traveling up, if you're going to leave your arm straight. So if you're leaving your arm straight, You should hear yourself exhaling. One last one. Good. And the other side. So the arm that goes along the leg and the arm that presses up. Finding your arrangement, so just test it out for a second with your feet where you want to be for your hip hinge. And coming over, pressing up, use that marble traveling up to support your core. Beautiful. And again. Last one. Great. So we're going to do some bicep curls, and I actually think I am going to change my weight. Sometimes you just feel like you know what your body's asking for. But I'm going to do my little secret trick for bicep curls so that my spine stays under control. And I find that a block or a ball in between my inner thighs really helps me stay centered in my middle of my body. And it seems weird, but the arms are far away and they're moving through space and they have weights on them. So we don't want our spine to do all kinds of funky things. And I have found that this really helps stabilize your core. So we're going to bicep curl. You can do it the way I am right here, where my palms are up the whole time. Or if you want, you can come up and then you turn down. Come up and turn down. You can do any combination. So just play with what feels like a good workout to you without your shoulders and your neck feeling stressed out or your forearms feeling stressed out. Notice if you're starting to feel like you need to swing your body to bring the weights up, then it's time to stop. Good. Then I'm going to eloquently drop my block. And we are going to do, we're going to do a suitcase carry. So if you've got a lighter weight, I suggest you pick up a heavier one. And the whole idea in a suitcase carry is that you really need your core. And I'm actually going to go even a smidge heavier, just because I think I can demonstrate better with an even heavier weight that this weight wants to pull me over. So I want my core, not this part of my bicep shoulder girdle, to be pulling me back upright. I want my core to do it. And then I walk. And it's just interesting to notice there is just a little bit more core engagement. So obviously the heavier you went, the more the core engagement. Your fingers have been challenged today with a bunch of gripping.
That's a good
which is always, yeah, always a thing. And then we're going to switch sides. Shake out that hand that was gripping. Feel that marble traveling up and walk again. Walking forward and back. You can walk however you want. Great. And we are going to grab one more sip of water and come down to the ground. And we're going to be on our belly. What I'm going to suggest, just for experimentation, I didn't tell you ahead of time because this just entered my mind. I saw a towel and I'm going to roll it and suggest you put it right where your hip flexors are. You could find a light throw. Yeah, I see that you've got things. So we're just going to find something that we're going to roll. So we're going to lie on our tummies, but so this isn't up here. It's right at where my pants crease.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm going to come down to the ground and I'm going to guess where I'm going to get myself down so that I'm going to lower myself and put my pants crease there. So I'm going to do it through a knees down push-up, just lowering myself down, and I got it a little bit high. So when I get down here, I'm going to move my weights and I'm going to move my little roll to get it where I want it. So now it's right in my hip crease, which is awesome. And I'm sort of pressing my pubic bone towards the ground. It's not going to touch it because of the hip crease little roll. Going to put your arms out to cactus arms. So thinking about the back of your neck being long, your forehead kind of presses into the ground and you lift your cactus arms up. And you come back down. You do that again. Marble travels up while your forehead presses down and your arms come up. And the third time is the last time. Feel the back of your shoulder blades. And then bring your hands next to your breast, just below your shoulders. And we're going to press our pubic bone towards the ground. Let our elbows point towards our feet. And just press and lift a teeny bit. Your head, you're not looking forward, you're still looking at the ground, your shoulders, maybe your chest. And you come back down. You lift your palms for a second, feel those beautiful shoulder blades pulling back. Put your hands back down, feel those same shoulder blade muscles help you press into the ground and lift maybe a little bit higher, still looking at the ground. And come back down. Lift those hands again, press into the ground. This time, as you press up, you can start to look forward towards the front edge of your mat. And come back down. Lifting your hands again, feeling your shoulder blade muscles. Hands down to the ground, pressing into the ground. Lifting head, neck, and chest, and maybe shine your eyes a little higher than the top of your mat. Great. And take a breath. Think about your legs now and how you can press into that roll and see about just having your toes on the ground. So your knees are off the ground and it feels kind of comfortable because you've got that roll there. Mm-hmm. And you let your knees bend and you let yourself relax. Just notice that when you do that, when you take your knees off the ground, that your bum and the back of your legs sort of light up. Now, if the front of your kneecaps or around your kneecaps light up, let's just scratch the back of your leg for a second. And think just a little bit more about the back of your leg as you lift your kneecaps. The back of your leg and your bum squeezing more than your kneecaps squeezing. Come down and try that again. Back of the leg squeezing, and then can you lift your toes? and let go. If you felt that in your low back, then skip the lifting of the toes on this next round. Lift the knees, feel the back of your legs. Keep pressing your pubic bone towards the ground as you lift. Feel your bum alive, the back of your legs alive, and come back down. Then see about one more. You lift your knees, but you want the back of your leg. Maybe you scratch it one more time, telling it, this is the last one, you can do it. Squeeze your bum, squeeze the back of your legs, and let your feet float. And then come back down. You can put your head on your hands and breathe, just feeling how you can expand the back of your rib cage as you breathe. Really feel the muscles opening and moving back there. And then I'm going to have you do what you need to do to come onto your back. So you can roll over or you can press up and get whatever props you need for under your head, whatever it is that you need. We will be coming into Shavasana pretty soon. So if you want to gather your props for that. I always try to remember to come down safely on my side and then roll onto my back. So my head is propped up. It's a really nice way to keep my ribs more on the ground. And you're just going to notice for a moment your breath. We worked hard.
Yes.
Your heart may be beating a little more, with a little more speed. But you should notice that your effort to breathe slows down. You're just taking in the air you need right now. Let your knees come together and your feet go wide and feel your whole hip complex relax, your buns relax. And then if your arms aren't already down by your side, I'm bringing mine to my side with my palms up. Going to bring my heels beneath my bum. And I'm just going to windshield wiper. So I'm not doing a wide windshield wiper. I'm doing a kind of narrow one just for variety. And I'm just noticing, like when we were seated, noticing what's the rotation that I have in my legs rather than my hip sway. So you can start out letting one hip leave the ground and then the other hip leave the ground, but then slow it down and just make it mostly the legs. Your hips could move a little bit, but make it mostly the legs and just test yourself. Give your internal rotation on that leg that's going across the midline of your body. Give it a chance and just see what it wants to do. Good. Then we're going to lengthen out the right leg. You've worked your legs a lot, so my suspicion is you're going to shake when you do this. But we don't want to push into the left heel a lot. We want to really use our core. So the marble's going to travel from our pubic bone up and behind our belly button. We're going to exhale and maybe lift that leg towards as high as the left knee, maybe not, and come back down. Now, the front of your leg may want to do a lot of the work again. If you can get it into more of your inner thigh by rotating your leg out a little bit, which means that your foot rotates out too, but do it from the top of your leg. Then maybe you'll feel more in your inner thigh, which is always a good thing. So mine is shaking. I don't know about yours.
Mine is shaking. When I turned it, it was shaking.
It's crazy.
Crazy.
This is a lot. Okay, let it rest. Shake it. Wiggle it a little bit before you bring it in and lengthen out your left leg. So maybe we'll start out right from the beginning. We're not going to be pressing into the right foot very much, and we're going to lift that rotated leg up and bring it back down. So I don't want my rib cage moving around while I do this. I'm really needing to use my exhale to pull my leg up. Noticing that I might want to take another breath and use my exhale to go back down. We're tired. And we don't want our low back to get involved with our hips and ribs moving around. So maybe we need a little exhale effort on both the up and the down. And one more. And let's lengthen both legs out. Wiggle. And we'll start to relax. So if you're using an eye pillow, that's an awesome thing. I've got to remember to bring my eye pillow in here. And noticing that your breath can slow down again. And that your head is heavy. Your hair follicles are relaxed. Your forehead and the sides of your eyes, just allow the muscles to relax into your scalp. Your cheekbones let go. That effort melts towards your ears and drips down your neck. All of the muscles around your mouth relax, even the muscles inside your mouth. And that brings relaxation into your jaw. And it all melts towards your neck. Your neck is relaxed. It doesn't have to hold your head up. And then you notice that your t-shirt seams melt more into the floor. Your clavicle, that top of your shoulder area, melts towards the floor. You feel your arms are heavy now because of it. They let go of any effort. Your armpits even let go. Your armpits are connected to your rib cage. As all of that melts, your rib cage is just breathing with the little effort that it needs. Doesn't need to move a lot right now. You're not holding yourself up against gravity. As your rib cage lets go, that hip flexor, the psoas that's connected to your rib cage, starts to relax towards the ground. So it goes from the bottom of your rib cage to your inner thigh. And you just notice as that releases, the backside of your body wants to release too. Your low back and your bum, they all want to melt. Everything else that's left in the front of your hip relaxes. Your thighs relax, the front and the back. That melting of those muscles comes to your kneecaps. Everything around your kneecap relaxes and lets go. The heat of that melting travels down your shins and your calves, melts right into your ankles. The heat has melted all the muscles from your toes all the way down to your heel. You feel heavy and warm, and you breathe. And you can stay here and continue your Shavasana, or you can come up. Oh, I feel like I got red. So stretch. Find the length in your arms and your legs. Find the moves that make you feel like you can get up. Move around in any way that feels comfortable.